Hi everybody. Welcome to section 3.1c. Notice we've done a little bit of breaking up of section 3.1 because there's lots of stuff from graphing. So we're really going to focus on x and y intercepts in 3.1c and using those to graph. So first of all, an x-intercept is wherever the graph crosses the x-axis. It's the coordinate of that point. Everybody knows the x-axis is the horizontal. The y-intercept is the y-coordinate where that graph crosses the y-axis. So if we know a point on the x-axis and we know a point on the y-axis, for example, here's my x and y fancy graph. Here's a point on the x-axis. Let's say that x-intercept equals 3. Here is my point on the y-axis. Let's say that y-intercept equals 4. So now I know my two y-intercepts. Notice my x-intercept is 3, y-intercept is 4. I can go ahead and sketch a graph by connecting those 2 points. A little bit less work than using an XY table. If you can find the 2 intercepts, you've got yourself a graph. So if I give you an equation to find the x-intercept, all you're going to do is set y equal to 0 and solve. So at the end, you're going to have x equals something. If I ask you to find the y-intercept, shockingly enough, you're going to set the x value equal to 0 and solve. And you're going to have at the end y equals something. Whatever y equals is what you put on the y-axis. Whatever x equals is what you put on the x-axis. Connect them and you've got yourself a line. Does this seem a lot simpler than doing XY table? So let's skip this first one. Let's just, well, no, let's do this. This is a piece of cake, right? Find the x, y, and y intercepts. So x-intercept is on the x-axis. Looks to me, here's the x-axis. My x-intercept equals 20. You don't have to tell me the ordered pair, just tell me the x value. The y-intercept up here looks like a 30 to me. That's all. That's all we're looking for. The dots are connected. We got a line in between them. So for example, number 2, it says determine or describe what the intercepts mean. Notice the title of the graph is draining a pool. My first question is, what is the x-intercept and the y-intercept? So the x-intercept on the x-axis looks like 14. The y-intercept on the y-axis looks like 10,000. That's the easy part. Now let's describe what that means. 10,000 what? Gallons, right?
Could I get Michaela Aiken to the office?
Sorry, little announcement break there. So what does 10,000 gallons mean? Notice it's 10,000 gallons when the time is 0. So if we're draining a pool, would you agree that the pool starts with 10,000 gallons? So what does the x-intercept of 14 mean? How many gallons are left in that pool after 14 hours? So how would you put that in words? It takes 14 hours to empty the pool. Empty means 0, right? So not so bad. All right. So now let's do a little figuring ourselves. So determine the x and y intercepts of 3x plus 2y equals 9, then graph the equation. So 3x plus 2y equals 9. Well, in order to find the x-intercept, we want x equals something, which means we're going to put what in for the 0? What in for the y? Let's put a 0 in for the y. So when I put a 0 in for the y, what's 2 times 0? So would you agree that's the same as 3x equals 9? Divide by 3. What is my x-intercept? I'm going to do the same thing to find the, let me make that a little smaller, to find the the y-intercept. Where do I put a 0 when I want to find the y-intercept? So y-intercept, I put a 0 in for that x. 3 times 0 is, so 2y equals 9 would be all I have left. Finish that equation by dividing by 2. So y equals 4.5, 4.5, 9/2. Are you allowed to get a decimal or a negative? Sure, why not, right? So if I'm going to put the x-intercept of 3 on the graph, which axis am I going to put that 3 on? X-axis, x-intercept, 3. If my y-intercept is 4.5, which axis am I going to? Y-axis, y-intercept, 4.5. Get yourself a nice straight edge, connect those dots. Of course, what are you putting on either end of your line? Make it nice and long, go past the intercepts themselves. You have now got yourself a line. So finding 2 points. All right, don't answer that phone. Determine the x and y intercepts of negative x plus 2y equals 3. Then graph the equation. Let's do this one last one. So x-intercept. That's when y equals 0, right? So I'm going to take my original equation, negative x plus 2y equals 3, and I'm going to put a 0 in there for that y. So what is 2 times 0? So if that's 0, would you agree that I still have negative x equals 3? Have I ever cared what negative x is equal to? How do I make it a positive x? Divide both sides by -1 because the x's cancel out, or the negatives cancel out, and my x-intercept is at -3. If I'm going to find my y-intercept, that means what has to be equal to 0? So I'm going to take my original equation. Whoops. I'm going to put a 0 in for that x. What's -0 do for you? Absolutely nothing, right? So it's just 2y equals 3. Divide by 2. And I got a y equals 1.5 or 3/2, whatever that might be. So now let's get those guys on the graph. So x-intercept is -3, so I'm going to the x-axis at -3. Y-intercept is 1.5, so I'm going to go up 1 and another half on the y-axis. Connect those dots. Whoa, I'm a little off on that one. Oh, no. And put arrows on both ends. What do you think of these problems? These are pretty easy, right? We could always go back to an XY table if we wanted to, but we certainly do not have to. All right, so here's what I would like to know. Explain in your own words how to find the x and y intercepts. Not too bad. And then for the practice problems, I want you to find the x and y intercepts for 3x minus 5y equals 30. They'll both come out to nice, neat whole numbers, so integers only, no decimals on this particular problem. That is it for section 3.1c. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.